You're listening to the Racking Focus Podcast.
And now, a Racking Focus bonus feature, the 2-minute review with Lisa and Stephanie. Today's episode, The Lion King.
You're listening to the Racking Focus Podcast.
And welcome back to Racking Focus Podcast. We're now in our fourth different studio, wherever we may be.
We don't have a studio, really. It's something we need.
To talk about Spider-Man Far From Home, and we're glad you could join us. Reminder, spoilers. We have spoilers all through this particular conversation. We'll do our best not to blow anything super large, I guess, but we're still going to spoil the whole film, essentially. So hang on to your hats.
Hold on to your butts.
Whatever you may be holding on to. Okay, Josiah, what'd you think?
I don't ask for much for a superhero blockbuster. I need the hero to win in the end and him defeat the villain, and it needs to all make sense. And this was that. I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I don't remember Homecoming all that well,
okay.
So I feel like Homecoming felt a little bit too long for me, but this felt okay to me. I didn't have any trouble with pacing or anything like that. It was a fun blockbuster film that the family definitely should go see, and it tied into the cinematic universe and like all of that. So I was very happy with the film. What about you?
Before we do that, did we press record on the...
Yeah, that's recorded.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're
good.
Yeah.
My paranoia, yeah. Well, it's like this in the car, too. People don't see it as much. I actually loved it a lot, far more than I thought I was going to. Maybe, not that I had low expectations at all, but I had fewer expectations. And I shed a tear 3 times, I think,
oh, really?
during the film. Yeah.
Wait, what parts? You have to tell me, because I didn't
I
cry
will,
at all.
but let's talk a little bit about the movie, and then we'll go to tear shedding. I thought that the CGI was surprisingly strong throughout, and although there were places where we talked about that issue of weight in the end, where weight might have been a little funny, it's Spider-Man, so that's part of what is going on, like we're violating those rules.
Yeah.
I thought the use of characters was wonderful, and I just had a ball. Like I had 2 hours of
it was
real
so fun.
Real entertainment.
They kind of, it felt like, so Spider-Man's can easily be overdone. It can easily go wrong. We've seen it go wrong. I don't think we have the ability to cut to Peter Parker walking down the street, emo Spider-Man walking down the street, but emo Spider-Man, very wrong from the third movie. And then I hated the Andrew Garfield remakes. And so far I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. And this film felt like they did a good job mixing a superhero trying to find his identity and origin again in the midst of what they called the blip, mixed with a teen drama. You know? Yeah,
I think absolutely. It certainly was full of the tropes of the teen comedy, right?
Yeah.
The almost sexuality, the hunky guy,
Right.
the goofy couple, whatever, each of those things with that central core, far more innocent. One of the things I think they did really well was let there be innocence between these two teenage characters.
Yeah.
Instead of trauma. We had the Stark trauma that was going to be present over the entire film, and it didn't overwhelm.
It could have easily been too dark.
Yeah.
It could have been depressing and all of that, and it wasn't. I loved there's something about when MJ and Spider-Man finally connect that just makes you feel so good inside.
Yep.
Is that when you shed a tear?
I shed a tear then during that. There's a thing about people knowing their potential partner, and the Black Dahlia thing was like the perfect gift, which we needed to not and both potentially recognize. Like, it doesn't hurt to not know what it is when he buys it, or to know what it is. It doesn't make any difference. It's right for her, and the brokenness is of all. That's what it got. When she said the thing, I want to keep. I like it being broken. Right. Better being broken. I understand that. Like, I like things broken. I understand that idea completely. Right. That was beautiful.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite moments. I didn't know if they were going to just tiptoe around it the entire movie and she wasn't going to actually find out, but I really liked that she found out and actually embraced him for it. And it was, I don't know. I really liked it. And I like the not traditional MJ.
Yeah,
I like how Zendaya is playing MJ in this film, and all the films that. Well, and
MJ is certainly the stronger of the two major Spider-Man love interests, right? Like, this is the person in the comics who Spider-Man marries, like the real relationship happens
this
there.
is like the central.
It's
this
a
is the
real
girl
person, right? Yeah. This is the real girl. Although there was that tremendous Easter egg when Mysterio has her in the fantasy and drops her, which is what happens to Gwen Stacy in the comics. Right. So, like, what a great way to incorporate those two characters.
Right. Let's talk about that illusion.
Okay.
For a minute, because that was incredible. All the CG, there's a point in these superhero movies where I need to feel how in the world is he going to get out of this situation? Right. Because if I can't think about what they're going to do to win, then you've sucked me into the movie, and now I'm rooting for them, and I feel helpless as a bystander watching this superhero try and defeat the villain. And I had no idea what he was going to do. I did not know that they were for a little bit. I didn't know they were using the drones. I didn't know what was happening. So it was just, I loved that scene. It reminded me of the Force Awakens scene, the Star Wars Force Awakens, when Rey goes into this, she touches the lightsaber and she goes down into this weird vision. Yeah, I don't know. I just really liked it. I really liked that scene. I liked the CG behind it. It felt way more like Spider-Man looked way more fake in those visuals there, and it might have just been the duplicate Spider-Mans that looked fake. But overall, like, I thought that was so incredibly well done. I can't imagine the art direction behind that and trying to figure out what all of those little scenes within that overarching illusion scene. How did they create that? Like, just incredible. So.
And from a storytelling perspective, it's a plant, right? Like, it feels like it's the thing, and it certainly raises the stakes. Yeah. But then it becomes crucial for that last sequence for us to not really know where he is, what his situation is. Yeah. And so we are in a position where we're not sure what the end result. We know, and we're. One of the things that's interesting about really well done suspense is we know we're in the act of suspense. We know something's going to change. And so, we see action, and we're like, there's got to be another twist. There's got to be another twist here. Yeah. And in fact, there's a twist inside a twist inside a twist, including the post-credit scene, which gives us a twist even we didn't recognize in those final moments. Right. That's so well done. So, I thought that the Mysterio effect was really spectacular.
Yeah, he really played into his name there, didn't he? There was a moment where I was very, very nervous because I didn't know if they were gonna give me a Dark Knight Rises moment where the hero doesn't actually defeat the villain.
No, it felt like that, right?
Yeah, when Nick Fury shoots Mysterio, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. And then I figured that he was playing him again, but glad that wasn't the case, that they didn't just leave it there, because I wasn't sure how long this movie was going to go for. I had no idea.
One of the difficulties, too, of the Spider-Man issue is that he is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and alone he's not capable of the conflict he was in here. Yeah. And so when you're watching it with these elementals who are in the comics just like the lamest possible villains, they are present here, and Spider-Man shouldn't be able to defeat them.
No, webs do nothing.
So there's a thing inside, and they did that great sort of seeding of Mysterio is really the bad guy, and he's a human-sized bad guy, completely human-sized bad guy.
Right.
And as a result, he and Spider-Man can go at it one-on-one, and we feel like it's a legitimate battle.
A fair fight. It's a fair fight, and it's so going into the movie, I knew that Mysterio was going to be the villain. He's a villain in the comics, correct? Right. So I knew that the twist was coming at some point, and I had a feeling it was when he handed over Edith, right? I was like, they're gonna pan back to him, and he's gonna reveal. And I loved the character switch that he pulled. Like, Jake Gyllenhaal's so good; he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed him in the film, but like I knew going in, they kind of hit this. It was, I don't know, it must have been like 40% of the way into the movie when he hands over the glasses, right? Because you have the elementals, that whole plot, that arc finish. And if anybody watching this movie has to be like, all right, something else is gonna happen. If you didn't know that there was a twist coming, then you weren't watching the movie close enough.
Right.
So I knew going in Mysterio was the bad guy. I didn't know much about him, but man, like he's super cool. He is super cool. I kind of wish that he, spoilers, lived in the end. I would like to see him come back in some other way.
Right, and I think we need to. I mean, there's a chance.
Yeah.
I would. And there was a lot of talk too about him getting a Disney Plus series.
Really?
Yeah. So that may have just been the scamophonic system of making people believe he's a good guy, right? So you're just laying that out there.
Right. So
I can't imagine Gyllenhaal would sign on for
for a series like that. No. All right. So I did write something down. You had to clarify this for me. Maybe you caught it. Maybe I just missed something overall. Two things. You're introduced to Quentin Beck, and he's saying there's a multiverse. Essentially, he's from a different Earth. Oh, you know what? I just solved it in my head. It's okay. I'll bring up the multiverse again in a second. Let me ask the second question.
You have to ask the first question.
People
are literally sitting at home.
Am I just trolling everybody right now? Okay, so I was going to ask the question of the multiverse.
Yeah.
He mentioned that he's from a different Earth.
And we're from 616.
Sure, yeah, I don't remember the numbers. And Nick Fury's like, yeah.
Right.
That's like he totally bought it. Spider-Man is obviously like, that's insane, like so cool, like, and he goes and nerds out on him. And then we discover later on that I literally wrote down, was Quentin Beck his real name? If so, how did Fury not catch that he used to work for Tony and was fired after actually creating BARF, the acronym for the binary, whatever, the alternate augmented reality feature. And then you find out in the post-credit scene that it's not really Nick Fury and
right, exactly.
Hill there, right? So I answered my own question there.
Super duper spoilers at this point.
Super duper. Yeah, look, if you're listening to this,
Sam, you got to put a big flashing there. Something just before that.
Yeah. So sorry, answered my own question.
Great.
There.
What's your other question?
Those were I had a question, multiverse ? And then the follow up of, if this was actually him, how did they not? Catch that little detail.
And multiverse is still a possibility, right? They're going to play that down. There's still the possibility of that. All of that. Andrew Garfield is going to be back, and they're going to do a movie with all of them. I think, again, was another marketing scam at this point.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, that would be a great fundraising thing they could do for some organization to have them all appear in a tiny little film together.
Yeah.
So we know the multiverse exists in the Sony world. So
right.
So we'll see if that finds its way over here.
I'm glad Sony has finally let Disney and Marvel kind of play hands-on play with Spider-Man again, because it just kind of went downhill after Spider-Man 2. I don't know.
So I would say that this is almost a perfect representation of a Spider-Man comic.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah.
So much of this. I mean, first of all, there's the same. They've really learned how to do the splash page, how to make a splash page in this on the screen. The battle with Mysterio and the fire monster certainly is all splash page, beautiful stuff. Right. But it also, this had the flavor of a Spider-Man comic. And one of the things that those other films have struggled with is how to deal with the trauma of Uncle Ben's death, right?
Yeah, right.
And this one does it by making that the letters on the suitcase. So when he shuts his suitcase, it's Ben Parker. It's Ben E. Parker. Huh. And it's Uncle Ben's suitcase. Huh. So Uncle Ben's there, and Stark does the fill-in.
Right, Stark's the Uncle Ben for
and
all
we
intents
have
and
all
purposes.
this support from Happy and from May that gets him through it in a way that the comics can't do. And he doesn't have a villain to hate, and so he's able to be in this really weak, sort of wondrous position. So there were a couple moments that got me. The moment with MJ at the end got me. The moment when and this one is going to make me forget the third one, when he goes to the back of the plane and he starts to build the Spider-Man suit. And
he's Tony.
And he takes that hand, and it's going to make me tear up again. And he scoops his hand around, and it is just Tony. And it does it right out of me. Boy, it fills me up.
And it felt really so good because they started playing what he thought was Led Zeppelin, actually AC/DC, which is the first song you hear in the first movie that kicked off the entire series. I believe that's the song, right? When Tony's in the Humvee and he's driving in the desert.
We'll check. If we're wrong, we're wrong. If we're right, we're right.
Yeah, right. Yep. So, loved that, and Happy's so just staring
beautiful.
at him.
Yes, and it's Happy's sort of joy of this new best friend, quote unquote, kind of thing that's able to happen, reinvigorating that, and this moment where Peter does the reason that he's been given the glasses, the reason that he's potentially the new Iron Man is all because of that, not because of his heroics, but because of this other thing, this inventiveness, which is how he defeats Mysterio.
My wife is whispering to me that it's AC/DC.
She's whispering.
And Back in Black. That's what I said. I said it was AC/DC, correct? Yeah, that's the song that's in Iron Man.
In the beginning, as Stark is driving into the...
There we go. We've confirmed that. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. We appreciate it.
Yeah, so Peter Parker falls into his destiny and his responsibility. And I like that like you said, Tony is Uncle Ben for the most part, right? He's the death that Peter's mourning. He couldn't save Tony in any way. He's helpless to that fact.
And he's the death that makes Peter become the real hero.
Yeah, right. It's and without saying they moved the line from the original, that famous line of "with great power comes great responsibility," to what is the line? It's like, to the next Tony Stark, I trust you, or I believe in you, or something along those lines. So for the most part, same sort of thing. Same sort of, he gave him a last line to push him towards his destiny there. Edith was cool, man. I knew that, I figured, I saw those glasses, I was like, there's some kind of message. I wasn't sure if we were going to see like I was expecting to kind of see like a Tony Stark in his glasses talking to him sort of thing. And what Edith stands for was hilarious. What was it? I'm the hero. Even it.
You can look it up.
I'm gonna look it up. You say something.
I'll tell Sam, flash it under the bottom of the screen and defeat us.
We're gonna find it.
Yeah, I thought that the Tony transitions were great, and that also helps us buckle the phase 1, 2, and 3 sequence. Right? We get Tony. It completes it. What is it?
Even dead, I'm the hero.
There you go.
Yeah. Hilarious.
The perfect Tony Stark.
Hilarious.
Moment. Yeah. But we get the perfect buckle from beginning to end, which is great. And that's the other thing this film did really well, that I think Marvel does really well, is this idea of planting seeds early, and they pay off much later. And Kevin Feige has to be the masterwork of that, although I think he's surrounded himself by people now who are able to carry that, and he's learned to let people do sequels.
I think the screenwriters and whoever is in the creative room there just knows all of these films so well that they're able to write a movie and say, hey, can we add this little piece that we brought? Like, they brought in these random side characters. The scientist from Iron Man 1.
Oh, so good.
Like, I was like, there's no way that that's the actual guy. And then they flash back to it, and it actually is. Like, so they're pulling these little pieces, people you didn't think even mattered, into this film to be part of the villain's team, right? And I was going to say that's something I think that's why these Spider-Man films have succeeded so well, and why overall all of the Marvel films have succeeded so well, especially in phase 2, phase 3, and now going into phase 4, is that there's an actual world that they've built that all reacts and breathes and moves together, rather than the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man remakes that don't exist anywhere. They just kind of are there, and you don't understand the world that's happening around them. They just kind of exist. So these can all play off of each other. They can all play together. They can all move together. Something that happens in this movie will cause a reaction in another movie that we see down the line, I'm sure. So
and then part of that's probably because they're writing some of these while others are being shot.
Yeah.
So they are able to course correct in minor ways to say, oh, we're doing this thing right here. You should take that. You should work that here.
Right.
There's conversations had to be happening because, again, Feige's at the top. Nothing's getting past him.
Yeah.
So that's that. Tell me what you thought of the actual teen comedy, of the youth story.
Yeah. They mixed it was just lighthearted fun, man. Like, it was just lighthearted. I don't want to call Peter Parker nerdy because he is Spider-Man, but he's also this nerdy science geek looking for love from I don't even know if MJ's popular in this movie or not. She's not really. Yeah. But she's this quirky, like, someone who maybe feels a little bit out of his league just because he's so awkward, right? Like, he's so awkward around like girls in this movie. And then his friend Ned gets a girlfriend within the first 10 minutes. Man, they're hilarious.
The opening of this I loved. I loved that high school. I mean, I worked.
Oh my goodness, that was right up your alley, wasn't it?
And I was like, oh, this is hilarious. And it was great, and a great way to introduce a character we're going to see, to give clear sort of defining characteristics to that person who we can then see collapse.
Does that resonate? Does all that stuff happen on set when you're doing school news in the morning? Do you see the boom dip into camera? Are you using lav mics?
I certainly see the lavs fall off. Yeah, absolutely. The boom dipping in is one of those moments where I bet 50% of that theater didn't understand that gag, but it was great. And the looking to the wrong camera, which they may have done one too many times, but that's the thing. It's multi-camera. There's the tally light's not going. Like, we don't even use tally lights at school. It's just a kid raising their hand like it's the floor manager doing the work. That was great. And you're watching this video that's sort of weird. It opens with this awkward video. Yeah. And that awkward video ends up being produced by some high school kid. And it's perfect. Like, just really, really
it really
perfect.
felt like a high school kid made all of that.
It did feel like
they might have had a high school kid just direct the.
Who knows? So good. But how much fun to try and produce that process anyway. And there were constant. When Peter says at one point, "Everywhere I go, I see his face," about Stark. We see Stark throughout the whole film, over and over and over again, in so many different ways, all around the world. And there's something about that helps us be in Peter's shoes. The movie isn't told
like in real life. You and I are seeing, like, whether it's on the internet or phone or wherever, on a bus that passes by our marketing end game, right? Is that what you're saying?
And I'm saying that in the movie itself, there's also a little tribute space set up. He's on the back of the elevators or escalators when they're going up.
There's the paint drawings in the school.
Exactly. He's like everywhere. All over the place, and we're seeing that too. And maybe you don't see it actively, but you see it in the back of your head. Yeah. And so there's something about that too that I thought was really charming. This movie wasn't told from Peter Parker's perspective. But it certainly was in Peter Parker's world for 90% of the film. Like, we were with him. I loved Night Monkey. I think that's hilarious. So funny. It's such a great slam on the black suit. Right. The black suit that is wildly inappropriate to him. Like, this, it was the whatever it was, like the ski mask, knitted ski mask top.
Yeah.
Ridiculously
Yeah, you put
weird.
Spider-Man into a henchman's outfit, right?
Oh, and he's got to be sweating inside there. Imagine how hot that.
Yeah, itchy and hot. Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Fighting a lava monster pretty much in a sweaty ski mask. Goodness. What else did you like? What else caught your ear or your eye, or what did you
Something the Marvel movie's been doing really well across the board, but I thought did really well here was music that really echoed. And Michael Giacchino did the music for this. I mean, he's done music all over the place.
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, I know his brother, who's a filmmaker up in New York.
Really?
Who did some work with us when we were doing Marks and Soho up there. He's a tremendous guy. I think he really has a sense of giving the appropriate emotional context to it. So, if you listen to his soundtrack work, he has a lot of scope. He really has the ability to go through a variety of different feels. And in this movie, I thought he did a really nice job of echoing the sort of big heroic hornness of the Marvel universe.
For sure. Yeah.
Without making it that hero theme throughout. There were big moments, but I didn't feel like we were watching the Avengers, and I thought it was really nice to
he dialed it back a little.
That sort of sense of, instead of just escalating and escalating. One of the things that we talk about Marvel movies having a problem is they get near the end, the villain becomes so big that the characters shrink down.
Right.
And here that could have happened, right? We have these giant elemental creatures, or we have this massive number of drones.
Yeah.
And there is that ridiculous sort of CGI through so many different images. Like, we have to really track through a lot of action. And the music supported, never took away, never led us someplace. It just was underneath. And as a result, I don't remember it, but I'm aware of it.
Oh, and that's something that people have brought up on the internet of, doing these video essays on Marvel and filmmaking in general. They say like, Marvel, what's with your music? Because I don't remember any of it. It's just kind of there. And I think it's purposeful. They don't want to distract you from the film with these, fanfares and random themes that pop up. Although there are themes that play here and there throughout, they more so just are there to aid the storytelling and the emotional aspect of the film for you to resonate with what's happening on screen. So yeah, I didn't pay attention to the music at all. This is the type of movie where I get so sucked into just the action and the story and what's happening in front of me that I completely forget to look at this movie from a filmmaking perspective because I'm just so drawn into the story.
And to some great extent, it's because the filmmaking technique of this is Marvel superhero filmmaking technique.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, we can see those individual directors going a certain way, but this is certainly the comic book film, as opposed to the outer space comic adventure, or the buddy film, or whichever of the different genres they're starting to try and grapple with.
Right.
This really is a comic book movie, and a really important button on the end of Phase 3. Like, I just think it's critical that instead of ending with tragedy and the story of the big characters, we end with the story of the little characters, and we end with love, right? A little kiss, an unrequited love that gets found for their life, instead of, Captain America not having that ever come to fruition. I thought that Aunt May and Peter's relationship was spectacularly drawn. I thought the Happy May stuff was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I found myself laughing far more than I expected to.
Yeah, me
which
too.
Is a great sign.
Yeah, I can't. There was a lot of humor in the film, and I can't remember. It wasn't even like big humor. It was just like slight jokes that were kind of tossed out here and there.
I think part of that's because they're character jokes. MJ has to be the one that thinks about using a medieval weapon. Hap has to be the one that thinks about carrying a shield. That sequence, again, super spoilers for the end of this film, that sequence in the Tower of London is almost a perfect sequence of throwback and character development, and none of it feels cheap because these people actually have idols. And the fact that none of those people in that sequence are superheroes is another thing this does really well, which we don't often get to see in Marvel films.
Right.
The non-superhero people get to play the heroic role. And Hap does, and he's just a guy. Like, really, in the end, he's just a guy, not the smartest guy on the planet.
No, but a guy you just like, and he's been there since, he came in Spider-Man 2, I think.
Yeah, he's just been around.
So, he's just been around. So, and he dropped off for a little bit. You didn't see him for a while. Came back for, the last couple movies. So yeah, and he hand me the spear. It's a halberd.
Oh, so
like
smart.
that's no one else is gonna say that except for Ned, right? Who's playing whatever battle destruction game on the plane, right? Like I don't know what the game's called.
The sequence in the plane,
yeah.
The first airplane sequence was magnificent. And I have to say, having gone on a high school trip with students, some of that experience was far closer. I mean, their group was really small, right? So
yeah,
you would have a bigger group. Is far closer to what the experience is. I traveled to Germany with a pile of high school kids and my oldest daughter, and it was... that plane flight was just echoed the experience we had on the plane flight. So good.
I want to talk about. We were going to talk about Phase 4 that they just announced. We got to give some ratings here.
Yeah,
so let's do ratings real quick,
and then
we can kind of go into some other stuff. And maybe we talked about the end credit scene. We did not talk about the mid-credit scene. So let's maybe talk about the mid-credit scene, then do reviews.
Okay, good. So again, huge spoilers.
Huge spoilers. I had a feeling that at some point in this movie, his identity was going to be revealed.
So casual with the mask from the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. He the second he took off his mask with at the conference with Aunt May, and then he went into the back room and he just took his mask. I'm like, why are you taking your mask off? You're still in public.
And he's going up the steps and the mask isn't on yet.
Yeah, I really thought we were going to do a pan and his mask was going to be off and the crowd was going to be staring at him. And what a tricky little villain Mysterio is to get the last laugh, even in his death, right? To get that last the last word. And
we have Peter now completely echoing Stark, right? Because Stark announces at the end of the first film, and here at the end of this phase, we get Peter's announcing who he is.
Yeah.
And then we get the J. Jonah Jameson reveal.
I clapped.
That was so
That was
good.
Great.
And the fact that he's not in a newspaper, but he's in some
he's a media.
There was a moment when Peter, and it's funny, he's flying and he takes the swinging and he takes the photo of himself, and I'm like, he's just gonna go land in the Daily Bugle, right? Like, that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And he didn't. But again, that idea of seeding things in the head of an audience that knows the stories.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this thing is there, and then the payoff comes almost.
Well, this is where it would be very satisfying for like a multiverse to happen, because you have from the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man those same beats of J. Jonah Jameson's, giving him hell. You have Spider-Man taking photos of himself, and you have a swinging ride through New York with Spider-Man and MJ, right? Like all three of those things are at the end in this mid-credit scene. I loved it. So
it was so good. And it's funny, there's the swinging sequence is adorable too.
Yeah.
Like they are an adorable couple, and it doesn't go the way Superman picking up Lois Lane and flying, and she suddenly is entranced. I mean, the horror of the whole experience.
No, it seems terrifying.
Yeah,
and
really
I felt scared for her a little bit. You're on the back of Spider-Man swinging through New York. Really cute. And
there's trouble ahead, right?
That's
a big setup for a third film.
Right, that's a third film for sure.
A setup for the path in between. He has to make some huge choices, and he's still a kid.
Yeah, right. He's only 16.
Yeah, I mean, Holland's not going to be 30 in the next film, so we're going to have to deal with it in a real immediate way.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do, or if it'll play into whatever. If he's doing a team movie or whatever, if he's combining with another character or something like that. I'm not sure.
The other thing I want to say about the Spidey tingle, let's just do that.
The Peter tingle?
The Peter tingle.
The Peter tingle.
SpiderSense. It's so, again, planting something. So it's not working, right? Or is it working? And what does it mean?
Right.
And we have to know in our heads, whether it's active or not, that's not powerful enough, or else none of the film makes sense. Mm-hmm. He should see through Mysterio from go, right?
Yeah.
And he doesn't.
Right. He's clouded by what he wants to do rather than who he needs to be.
He's clouded by grief, whatever else may be there, right? All that stuff that's doing it. Mm-hmm. And so when he decides to use it, it's not perfect, and that lets us have risk and drama. And I just thought that was really smart
it's really
move.
Great. Yeah.
It's funny, you think about Into the Spider-Verse, and the Spidey sense in that is so crucial to the forwarding of the plot, and it's perfect, right? Spidey sense in that is a perfect tool, and here it's certainly not.
Right.
And as a result, we get to, I mean, we see almost everything he has fail at some point in this.
Right. He loses his web shooters.
Yeah.
Like, he can't do his Peter Tingle's not working.
Yeah.
Like, it's
a great line.
What a great way to rephrase Spidey sense into Peter.
So let's rate, because we're going to run out of time.
Let's rate real quick. What would you give this movie? And we probably have to break it down into whatever subcategories again. But how would you rate this film?
So it's so funny. The longer we do this, the more this becomes difficult to do,
yeah.
right? As a superhero film, like as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is way up there for me. And I liked Homecoming a lot. Homecoming had so much heavy lifting to do.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
With Michael Keaton having to sort of deal with both a transition into that universe by being the cleanup crew,
right,
and that sense of villain for him, and for this new Peter Parker to come along in what is a vastly different origin story,
right?
Because we're missing Ben and all that stuff,
right?
And so that movie had a lot of heavy lifting and gets a lot of props for that. I think this was far more fun
than Homecoming.
Homecoming.
I agree. Yeah.
And so again, I think they found this link with comic book movies. So I'm going to give this, it's so difficult because I'm trying to rate it. It almost will be easier to do a top 5 and see how far it goes into your top 5 of Marvel films. But this is like a 7 or an 8 for me when it comes to a Marvel film.
Yeah.
And it's probably exactly the same as a film itself. As a teen comedy, it's fantastic, but it's clouded by Spider-Man. And as a comic book movie, the teen comedy makes it a little less of the action drama that it might be.
Right.
So I'm going to pull it down a little bit, but that is not to say I don't recommend it completely. I recommend it in a theater, and I loved really every minute. I could not have been happier. I kept saying to myself, like, I'm going to go to Europe at the end of this week. What a great way for me to prep going to Europe. And ultimately, how happy I was to have seen it. Yeah. And that says almost more than a 7 or 8 review I would give it as a Spider-Man film.
I would probably, just overall, like, on every level, I just feel good giving it an 8, like, all around. There's really not a whole lot wrong with the movie. I can't pick out a part that's like, that's a glaring issue for me. The whole thing felt real good. Like, I really like the movie. Like, I'm excited to watch it again when it comes out on digital. So
when I think there's going to be, so I can't imagine the work people are doing on YouTube right now.
Oh, for these Easter eggs and all this stuff.
Apart. Yeah. There's all this references. I mean, I put Voltron out, right? Because there's a Voltron gag in the middle of it. Like, there's so many geekified references in here. But again, they don't take away from the film. Right. They're integrated in. So, but yeah. Yeah. No.
I'd give it an 8 all around.
Good.
Even an 8.5. I was feeling like that little extra half step of points there. But
so you've been paying attention to San Diego Comic-Con and Phase 4, and I have not.
Okay. So
let's talk just briefly about that, because it's where do we go from here? Is this an ending or is this a bridge?
I'm feeling like it's a bridge. I don't know where to though. Other than what they've announced for Phase 4 and for, I think, only 1 or 2 movies for Phase 5. So here we go. For Phase 4, they've officially announced Black Widow, finally. We know it's been shooting. They haven't confirmed until now.
It even existed until now. Yeah, so now legitimately there is a Black Widow film.
Yeah, so we have Black Widow May 1st, 2020. Okay. That's in less than a year.
That is in less than a year.
Less than a year. Fall 2020, you have The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
And that's a TV series.
That's the TV series on Disney Plus.
Right.
You have Eternals, November 6, 2020.
Which feels like the highest risk.
See, I knew nothing about Eternals.
Yeah, it feels super high risk. I just want you to know. Okay. I feel like it's the hardest weight they've lifted.
Okay, so then you have February 12th, 2021, Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi?
Okay.
How do you say it?
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, great.
So
cool stuff.
2021.
Again, super heavy lifting for them to make people come out and watch it.
But I'm assuming Asian superhero?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, you might want to go read up a little bit or go grab a comic or two or whatever.
Yeah, take a look at that.
Yeah.
And then we have spring 2021, WandaVision for Disney Plus.
Right.
Then we get a second Doctor Strange movie May 7th, 2021, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So that's where Multiverse looks like it'll really come into play. Following that, in spring and summer of 2021 on Disney Plus, you'll get Loki series, which is probably going to be a good follow-up to the Doctor Strange multiverse. That feels like that's really going to bridge, right? And then you have What If. Talk to me about What If a little bit. You are familiar with that.
Once you create a comic company that has a load of stories that are at their base legend, like they become almost a mythology, you run into a problem, right? You start to look at your characters and want to spotlight things or ask questions about your storylines. You've locked yourself in. And, we see DC do things like Flashpoint or whatever, or Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they sort of blow that wide open. And multiverse is certainly a thing that we've seen in the Marvel world. But what we see in What If is literally asking the question, what if a major component or minor component of a Marvel story was different? So what if, and this becomes multiverse, right? Gwen Stacy was bitten by the spider.
Right. What if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four?
What if the Fantastic Four each had different powers?
Okay.
Had each other's powers.
So you're getting a weird spin-off of that character in a different situation.
So what if... this is, again, a true story for Marvel and the weirdness of it. What if Captain America worked for Hydra? Which caused a year's worth of pain and stress, and still people are angry about it. What if the like classic is, what if someone else was hit by the gamma rays and became the Hulk?
Right.
So there's all of those stories, and sometimes they're small, sometimes they're little tiny things. Like what if J. Jonah Jameson was Spider-Man?
Right.
Well,
you have infinite possibilities for this, and this is going to be an animated TV series on Disney Plus. That these actors, you have Chris Hemsworth, Tom Holland, whatever. These guys are going to come back and reprise their roles. It sounds like so. That should be a fun series. It probably will be very kid friendly too, which I imagine they're aiming for.
And the other thing about it too, and I think this is important to note, is it's super high risk because each episode, it's an anthology series, right? So each episode is literally living on the weight of the twist. So when I didn't subscribe to What If as a kid.
Okay.
Right. I subscribed to the Avengers. Like I bought.
Right.
But What If I always bought by the title. So I wasn't a big Doctor Strange fan. So if it was What If Doctor Strange never became the master of mystic arts,
right. You're like,
and it's I don't care, and especially because he's probably going to wander around doing surgery. I'm not interested. So those things are what I'm anxious to see is how risky they're able to get. It's the same thing. Think about Black Mirror. How risky will Black Mirror go?
Right.
What will they do the story about, and will it be capable of people engaging? And that's what I wonder about What If.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it. I think just to see. And then to finish up, we have fall 2021. You get a Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, and then to end Phase 4, you have Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
And I believe
Taika Waititi has signed
Taika
back
Waititi.
on.
Yep. And we saw Natalie Portman. Jane came on stage and was wielding Thor's hammer. Wielding.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's worthy.
So we'll.
No offense to her.
There was some mutual dumping that happened. That was said in the film. So
where's Guardians?
It sounds like
in there?
So Guardians is not on that list. I believe Guardians 3 is going to be Phase 5, from what I'm hearing.
I can't imagine.
Along with Blade,
right,
and Fantastic Four,
right.
That they announced, which worries the heck out of me. But
yeah, Fantastic Four is the greatest failed comic book transition we've ever had. It just never works.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if they can pull it off. That feels like so long for Guardians.
It's like 2022.
It's just a really long time. For that to be.
I imagine that we're gonna get the Guardians in Love and Thunder.
I would imagine you'd see them.
And so that's where your gap is going to be
that's
filled a little
as
bit.
Guardians of the Galaxy, so we can get to whatever story was probably originally going to be told. I've heard that there's some interesting characters appearing in Love and Thunder. Like I've heard some stuff about it. Taika Waititi has already leaned into one of those, and Beta Ray Bill is the character's name, who's a comic book favorite of mine, like a persona of Thor that's this crazy sort of half horsey creature who appears on the tower. One of the faces is Beta Ray Bill's, and it looks like Beta Ray Bill's going to be there. It looks like Adam Warlock's probably going to appear in Guardians 3, and that's why I say it feels a long way off to me.
Right.
That's a really strong and interesting character to bring into the story.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do or what their plan is, and they might not have mentioned everything. They might drop a surprise thing. Like I really wouldn't put it past Disney and Marvel to just let's try and just drop a film with minimal marketing and see what happens. In the same, I think we've talked about this too. In the same way that Beyonce will just randomly drop an album or Drake drops an album and it just goes crazy. So, and then if anybody's going to do it, Disney can pull that off and they can just drop something and tell you, hey, 2 weeks, there's a new Guardians in theaters, and everyone will swarm to the theater to see it.
One of my big concerns as you read that list is the number of those things that are Disney Plus pieces. Yeah. There really is a backbone of Disney Plus being built there that feels both like an extension of Phase 3, which is fine, but also a real push to get you to buy that service. Yeah. It'll be, and it sounds like they're doing what I call like the HBO rotation, where there is always. So Netflix doesn't succeed at this. We don't see, you don't have the next thing every time because Netflix is so cares about binging. They release and then there's going to be a gap. Right. But here on HBO we see that. You know, Game of Thrones ends, Westworld starts, or Big Little Lies, or Succession. Then
Watchmen comes out,
and Watchmen's next. And each one we see along the way comes out just in time.
Yeah, they're rotating their fan base to the next
and just
series.
driving it forward. And it feels like that's what that's doing.
Yeah, it's a smart way to do it.
Series. It is.
My concern is how will this affect canon? How do they keep individual stories like this? How do you have Wanda and Vision separate from Winter Soldier and Falcon? Like how does this all work together?
Yeah, and ultimately, how do you avoid what happened with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when there's a reflection, but the time syncs off, and there is this real distance that takes place? Yeah, I have some concerns about that. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, what I hate the most is I'm overwhelmed with streaming services and with streaming content, and almost every single one of those pieces is the ones I want to watch. I want to watch the Falcon and Winter Soldier piece, or Cap. If they make him just the Falcon and not let him wear the Cap suit, I'll be really frustrated. I want WandaVision, if it's based on the comic story that's similar. I'm so excited about the opportunity for that. I would love to watch a Loki series. All of those things. A Hawkeye series for sure.
So Disney pretty much has your subscription and their money right now.
But I don't want to. I don't want to be be manipulated, but I feel like
you feel manipulated by it. You're already in.
I do. I feel like I feel because they have access to so much content. If it wasn't Marvel content, I'd have no interest at all. The Marvel content locks us in.
Yeah, the Marvel content. There's always like a little piece that they have that's they're monopolizing a little bit, which is unfair. But for the non-Marvel fan, they have Star Wars, and then for the non-Star Wars fan, they have Marvel, and for the kids, they have if you have kids under the age of 15. Heck, if you have kids at all, any age, 0 to 25, they're going to be interested in something on this platform. Yeah, so
it's fascinating.
Yeah, they really have a total dominance over the
the market and the other thing, and this is
they own Hulu. So
if someone can write to us, we got to do the end of this. We got to get out of here in like 2 minutes. But if someone will write to us, I just want to know why they credited clearance to Star Wars at the end. There was some Star Wars item in the screen that I did not
Far
see.
From Home.
In Far From Home. At the end of Far From Home, there is a
there's a credit
clearance and there's a credit for a thank you for an item or the use of an item, and I just don't know what it is, and it's probably something simple, and I'm probably gonna feel
I don't know what it was. I didn't see any Star Wars references.
I didn't. So anyway, all right, let's sign off. Let's get out of here.
Thanks guys for watching this episode of the Racking Focus podcast. Please, we would love to communicate with you on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at PodFocus and Instagram at Racking Focus Podcast. And you can email us where, John?
You can email us at rackingfocuspod
at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Right. Sorry, I didn't do the whole thing.
Oh, all good.
And so please do that. And in addition, we wanted to make sure that you can leave a review for us, or do leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts at the least. We're on a ton of other podcasting platforms too. But even if you listen to us on another platform, go to Apple Podcasts, leave a review. We love the 5-star reviews. It pushes people up. We're really getting a riff here. I feel like we're in the place we need to be having this conversation. And we'd like people to start listening really fully now. So you can help make that happen by pushing us up on the list of reviews along the way.
Awesome. Other than that, thank you guys again for watching. And we'll catch you guys next time on the Racking Focus podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Racking Focus podcast.